of March 2021. Thank you to Sivu and Reverend Freddy for holding it down from 2 to 3. Welcome to the last hour of the show. And this is like the most interesting hour of the show because we have a guest on studio. So yeah, hello and welcome, Cheslyn, also known as Rhythm.
Oh yes.
Meyer. Hi Cheslyn, how are you?
I'm good, thanks. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Cheslyn, also known as Rhythm or B-Boy Rhythm.
Okay, so I'm going to quickly read your bio and then we'll just start with everything. So Cheslyn, also known as Rhythm Meyer, was born and bred in the streets of Port Elizabeth in the northern areas, Schauderville. He has been breakdancing since 2008 and he is still active in the street dancing in Port Elizabeth. Run Dance Development is a program that helps youngsters explore dance with the use of different dance genres. He teaches, completes, performs and live dance through and through. So hello, Cheslyn.
What an introduction.
Yes, so short and sweet. So I want to know, like, the question that I just asked you now. Are you a full-time dancer or do you do anything else other than dancing?
Oh, well, I've been dancing like 20 plus years.
Yes,
right? So it is basically, yes, it's a full-time job.
Okay.
It's not just a job, it's kind of my lifestyle, as people would say, and it's been a very interesting journey.
You've been dancing for so long and I was only a year old when you started. So did you always want to become a dancer? Because I know when you grow up, you want to become a lot of things. I was so confused.
Well, you see, the dance has kind of stuck with me since I was small. Like, I've always been the vibey. Always the little one that's dancing on the side at family functions and all that. And it kind of stuck with me. And then afterwards, like me noticing other dancers in my area dancing also then I started becoming more keen about dancing and wanting to learn more. And then that kind of hooked me, and it's been with me and stuck with me over the years.
When I read your bio, I knew that the northern areas had an influence in you being a break dancer.
How's that?
Because I am also from a small town in the Little Karoo, and I stayed in a northern area type of vibes, and we did cramping, and I was influenced. I don't even like sneakers, and I ended up loving sneakers. So I knew that when I read your bio. Okay.
It's the culture.
Yes, it is the culture. So I want to ask you, when did you know that, okay, I'm going to take this as a career? This is something that I'm going to do for the rest of my life.
Okay, so, that's actually a deep one. You see, for me, like, there's two sides to me. There's the entertainer, all focused on performing and dancing and all that. And then there's kind of like a more serious business side to me. And then I've always, like, taken a liking to the business side of things, and then when I had the opportunity to study back then after completing school and stuff, things kind of shifted, some personal happenings and stuff, and then my dancing stuck with me, and then that kind of pulled me through all my difficult times, and it's been my pillar. It keeps me grounded, man. And me obviously seeing that I excel in competitions, and then I'm good with working with people, with kids, grown-ups, it doesn't matter. And then also that when I perform, then people always tell me, you make it look so easy, or it's so fun watching you perform and stuff. So that kind of kept steering me in that direction. So yeah,
it came out naturally. Okay, so I come from a background where, like, education is so valued. And how did you, like, tell your parents that, okay, I want to become a dancer? Because a lot of people think that the arts industry is not a lucrative industry. Like, you have to have something to fall back on. You can't be a dancer forever. Like, what happens when you turn 50? What happens when you get injured? So I want you to speak about telling your parents that, okay, I want to become a dancer.
True, yes. Well, you see, the thing is, I was raised by a single parent, right? My mother died when I turned 18. So basically, I've been, even though there's family, like aunts and uncles that were there to just, be supportive, I've always had to rely on my dancing to provide. So that was kind of also a push in that direction. And then the whole thing where I had to convince my mother that dance was a thing, because you see, when she passed, I was still in the competitive stage of my dancing. So I would win a competition or something like that, but she wouldn't be able to watch because she was at home watching kids, because she didn't have an education and all that and stuff. But for me, that's always been a driving force, knowing that, what if my mother could see me? What would she think? You see.
Okay, so I want us to talk about like your first win that made you sure that, okay, this is the thing that I'm supposed to do. And I hear a lot of things that encouraged you in doing dancing. I want you to take us back, how it started back in 2000. Yo, you've been here for so long. Almost 21 years this year.
Yeah, basically. So I'd say in 2000, that's just me actually shifting focus to, okay, I'm going to push dance. Before that, it was more taking liking to, okay, I see this, I can try this out. Primary school days, hey, I can do this trick. I can flip. I can do this dance move.
You're the coolest kid.
Not actually. I'm quite a bookworm.
Okay.
I'm quite a bookworm. I was the one with all the diplomas and the trophies and stuff. That's why I said I have two sides. But I'd say for me it was more knowing that I'm a very athletic person, and that there's a creative side as well. Because there's people that's athletes, they're just driven to, I want to do this. I'm super athlete. But then with me, I feel like there's a side where I tell myself always, if it doesn't feel like I'm dancing, then what's the point? Even though I am such a dynamic dancer and all that, but there's always the dance side to it.
Okay, I want us to talk about the other side of the dance, which people never talk about, the business side.
Ooh, okay, so in the Eastern Cape, I'd say, Eastern Cape in general, it's kind of tough, because there's not a lot of organizations that dancers or artists can turn to. There's the theater side, like I know there's a lot of productions that used to happen, like now recently, like before COVID, let me say pre-COVID, and stuff that happened at the Opera House and at the Little Theatre, but it didn't really cater for the street dancers. And then for me, it felt like street dancers being left out, and there's so much creativity and potential amongst the street dance scene, and from a personal point where I know we would put up shows and we would do stuff like that in the past to push the movement, man, like street culture as in hip hop. Because a lot of people have a misconception that hip hop is gangsterism, where it's not. It's just a platform where creatives, like you'll find kids that's good at art, or guys that's mad crazy painters and stuff, and they end up pursuing that as a career. But where did it start? It started back at one of the dance events where we had a graffiti artist, or we had a DJ that was there teaching kids workshops, and there was a dancer doing workshops, that kind of stuff. And like in the Eastern Cape, I'm trying to create platforms. Like I have a non-profit organization that we registered last year. It's called the Breakdancing. It's based on it's not just breakdancing, but it's dancing, but it's focused on breakdancing, dance development. But because the scene died down, and there's almost no real experienced breakers left that's teaching and that's actually giving back, because it's tough finding a job as a break dancer. You'll find there's a lot of hip hop dancers that's getting work, but you'll never hear that there's a breaker that's teaching, or there's breakers that can switch and teach hip hop and can teach funk styles and can teach all that stuff. So the industry as a street dancer is quite tough, but we try and create shows, and we create like boot camps and events where those dancers can get together and then invite people to come check it out, because who knows, you might get your next booking from that.
Okay. So I am thinking that the whole lockdown had a great impact on the street dancing, because now people can't gather together on limitless numbers. Now everything is restricted. I want you to take me there. How is the street dancing thing going on right now, with everything so slow?
Well, at the moment, or let me say, when lockdown started, there's been a lot of online competitions happening. So you have to submit like a 1-minute clip of you introducing yourself and then doing a freestyle to a song that they choose, basically. The people that's organizing the competition. That's been happening in all the genres, or some of them are live competitions. There's people that's doing quite well on the online scene though, because there's dance classes being doing for kids, juniors to seniors. There's actually one lady, Nikki Ray Productions. She's currently doing great with the online teaching and stuff. I've been part of her project like this past couple of months, where she would do drama, dance, music, and all that. So we get to work with juniors and senior kids. I'd say if you have the setup for online events and stuff, then you should definitely capitalize on it. Until there's a suitable time where you can have the physical sessions and stuff. But like this is the second month now. It's the second month now that there's like an outdoor session that we just a couple of dancers getting together in Summerstrand actually, because there's a lot of fresh air and the social distancing. Because a lot of people are panicking about it, and I don't blame them because it's quite severe. But there's a lot in the arts that have suffered because of this whole lockdown and not being any funding and stuff for artists. Because now you're sitting, you can't go perform.
Yes.
You have rent to pay, you have other
to
bills
eat.
to pay, you have to eat.
Yeah, it's a struggle. It's a struggle. So I want to know, like, if there's like a young lad listening, or even a girl, and she's interested in dancing, where does she find all these street dance competitions?
Okay, I wouldn't say start at competitions. Start with lessons.
Okay, so you also provide lessons.
Lessons, like anything that has to do with dance, basically. Okay. So it's dance lessons. We do dance competitions. We do workshops. We do everything.
So, okay, what's the one skill that someone has to have in order to become a dancer?
Willingness to learn.
Okay, so that's all. You have to just...
You have to be willing to learn.
And there's nothing else.
Yes, you see, the problem is a lot of people feel like they can't dance.
Yes.
But then it's because they didn't try to dance.
It's not feeling that you can't dance. You can't dance.
No, there's no such thing. If you can count till 8, you can dance.
So there's a chance of me... Okay, there's a chance for me to be dancing, because I can't dance.
Definitely. There's a huge chance of you being able to dance.
Okay. So how is your creative process like in terms of choreographing? Do you come up with new dances, or do you do what is done?
You see, it depends on preference. If I'm choreographing to teach basics, I'll go through foundation. And then there's levels, beginner, amateur, advanced levels of choreography. For me, it's more the feel of the song. And then what do I take from it that will lead to the choreography. But the best advice is, if you know your foundation as a dancer, it's easy for you to adapt to any other genre, or I wouldn't say genre, but to any other choreographer.
Okay, so did you go through any educational training or?
Many workshops. A lot of people think that you just
because you
suck
can
things
dance,
out of your thumb, and just because you can dance,
so it's easy for you.
It's not that easy. A lot of us didn't have the privilege of going to art schools and stuff like that's available now. Yes. There's colleges and stuff you can go to, Cape Town, in the Eastern Cape, more out of town than in PE, but I feel that it's good to take that route because they teach you the business side of it as well.
Yes.
And then you get your verification, like they would say, because they all want to know, you're verified, you have a certificate and all that, but there's different institutions that provide that. And then it's just the route that you want to take.
So you've been in the game for over 20 years now. You're a legend.
Basically,
you are a legend in the game. So I want to know, what's the one thing that you don't love about being a dancer and you want to change?
The one thing?
Yes.
It
can't be flawless.
I'll say it in Afrikaans.
Ek kan jou hoor.
Yes,
Dit van ander
definitely.
mense
So the thing is, we make this joke amongst breakdancers a lot, where we say that die paarte verkoop hulle nie in die winkel nie.
nie.
Meaning that there's no replacement for the joints. There's no bone replacement. But that is the one thing I would want to change would be injuries.
Okay.
Recovery from injuries, especially if you in a dynamic sport or dancing, then that's
And
the
what
one
do
thing
you
that
do?
can ruin a career.
What do you do to make sure that you don't get injured, like
There's no
during your
such thing.
performance?
There's no such thing. You
can't
never
help
know.
yourself, like
you,
by maybe exercising. Like there's a type of exercises that you should do before you dance.
You see, for every dance genre or sport that you play, there's conditioning. But irrespective of how much you are conditioned or how hard you train, nothing secures you of not getting an injury.
Okay.
So you're bound to have an injury sometime, whether it's small or a big injury, but as many years as that has been put into it, you're bound to have injuries.
Okay, so you spoke about dancing being the one thing that grounds you. I want you to explain that.
So we deal with a lot, like personally, I'd say as a grown-up, you have all your little struggles that you go through, whether it be financially or spiritually or emotionally or physically even. And for me, my means of dealing with it has always been switching on the music,
And then start
locking
dancing.
everything out, and then just let the music guide me. Whether it's that it can be any street genre or whatever, because people tend to put labels on it. But when the whole emotional and mental state comes to it, and you're not dancing for people, and it's just you by yourself, it doesn't go in one direction. It throws you and pulls you in different directions. That's where the whole cramping thing comes in.
Okay, so with music, like you can really tell when a song is produced by a certain producer. When you listen to a song, before even seeing or being told, okay, this was the producer. And with dancing, I want to know, what's the one thing that you set yourself apart from the rest of other dancers? What's the one thing that whenever, if there's a big show and you're on stage and I'm in the crowd, before I even see your face, I can say, oh, that is rhythm dancing there.
Okay, that's a tough one. But one thing that I do know is that I have the ability to switch grooves. I can adapt to any genre that plays, basically. So if you're playing a Kwaito song, I will look like a Kwaito dancer. If you play a popping song, I'll be grooving like a popper. If you play a cramp song, I'll be cramping like a cramper. They can't, no. If I have to dance with a mask on my face, and
I said we can never tell, okay. We know
unless,
the way it moves.
yeah. Basically, it's more my ability to adapt, I'd say. That's the title or name or alias rhythm.
Okay, so like you have this run dance program.
No? Running dance.
Oh, is it running? But it's written in your bio,
Yes,
run.
yes.
Okay, so the running dance program. Tell me more about it.
Okay, so the project is it's actually named Script Wakker, right? Meaning wake up,
Yes.
as you would say. And underneath that whole program, there's like a lineup of events that we do. So there's a boot camp, there's pop-up workshops, there's small sessions in ciphers, there's a main event that we do that's called Battle Beasts. This is supposed to be the 5th year that it's running now. Last year was the first time that we didn't have it.
Okay,
Because of the whole lockdown and not being able to get the funding and all that, because that's also another thing. Which is why we registered the MPO and stuff, because you're trying to get to create the platform that we want to create, you need more funding. And to do it as an individual, it's kind of tough because they're not sponsoring individuals. They want to see more structure, so they'll go for the MPOs and NGOs, basically. And then that whole project that I'm referring to provides all those different platforms. So now you're creating jobs for guys that's choreographing. You're creating jobs for guys that's doing photography, for the DJ, for the MC, for the dancer that's competing, because there's prizes that's to be won, cash prizes. It's not just you coming and getting a certificate. There's actually something that you can put into your hand. Look here, you won 1.5 or 2 grand, or basically.
You also work with kids.
All ages. That's what I'm saying. Whether it's juniors or seniors, the platform is open for everyone.
Okay. So okay, you can go.
We actually had a good turnout the last one that we had. 2019 we did the boot camp where we had from what Tamim was 6. Yeah. 6-year-old boy up until 20, 30-year-olds in classes.
Okay, I was hoping to hear a story of trying to keep the kids from doing all the wrong things.
Nah, obviously,
Yes.
if you're going to be busy, like basically, if you're going to be busy in the project, and then there's no time for you to catch on silly things, let me must say that, because there's so much to offer. You're not just gonna, if you get bored of dancing, there's other stuff that you can do.
So I want you to describe the best performance you've ever put on, and what did you learn from that performance, like your best performance? Or is every performance a best performance to you?
I go on a basis where I think of your last performance should be your strongest performance, right? And then you just have to better after that.
Every time.
So every time you have to push yourself.
So every time you go on stage, you put on your best performance.
I give my best and I try to do my best. Definitely.
Okay, so if there were no restrictions in dancing, what would you like to accomplish as a dancer? If like there were no restrictions, there were no limits, there were no rules.
We would be traveling now, no? Because basically my whole vision for this project and other projects is that because I have friends and contacts abroad as well.
Abroad?
Abroad.
Okay, you must talk about that as well.
Nah, look, if you've been in the game so long, obviously you're going to build relationships, right? So, my whole thing is that I would like for it to become an international platform. Not where you just go overseas, but you get them to come.
Because dancing is like big overseas.
Exactly.
Yes.
And then there's so many people like that kids look up to because they see him on Dish, they see them on ABDC maybe, or they see them on World of Dance or something. But then it seems impossible for you if you from the rural areas or you from the ghetto basically. You think that you'll never get there because you look at your circumstances and stuff. So if you can't get there, then why not the opportunity arise for us to get the people to come to this side? Do you see? It would reach so many more people if you get them this side than 1 or 2 or 3 people going that side. So my whole thing is having to grow it that big where we can have a festival basically. And then put up shows, have competitions, have expos, the works.
Okay, what's the advice? I see that you work with all ages and
all ages, all races.
Yes, you work with everyone. So what's the advice that you give to young kids and also people who are starting, like they might be older than you, but they are starting in the game? What's the one advice you always give to people?
Remain humble.
And you wish that somebody told you. Like a lesson that you've learned hard in the industry and you wish like, when you went through it, you're like, oh, I wish somebody told me about this.
There's actually... Let me say it this way. For me, my one take on this has always been to remain humble. And to always know that, like the people would always say, there's always someone better. Or there's always someone working harder.
Yes, and that's the thing about the arts. Like, you are replaceable. There's no irreplaceable.
So you have to find that one thing about you that sets you apart from everyone else. You see? So a lot of people think that it's the dancing. You might be a good dancer, but then you lack in character. Your ego is here.
You're arrogant, and you think you have 20 years experience of doing this.
Yeah, don't rub people's faces in it. So I'd say remain humble. And then one thing that I would like to share with others that want to get into this is do your research. Make sure that you know what it is you're getting yourself into. Make sure that you know that you learn about the business side, about the industry. Because a lot of people don't. That's why they get taken advantage of, because they don't know. They expect, if I tell them, guys, you were dancing for $5 grand, they're 5 dances, then they think, that's a lot, when actually that's not a lot. Because then there's your rehearsal fees, there's your kit that you're going to put on, you have to book studio time if you don't have a studio, all that stuff.
Okay, about the business side though, like, okay, I'm a young dancer and I'm starting this whole thing, and then I come to you and you offer me classes. What do I do next?
You see, with the classes...
Do you also organize that, okay, after offering me classes, I'm going to get you your first gig, and how does it work? How do I even price my services?
Now that's the thing. That's where the levels of dancing gets in, because you're not going to send a beginner dancer to do gigs. That's where the whole levels of competition and shows...
Am I also a beginner after I have done classes with you?
It depends on the level, because if you started beginner with me, right, you're doing foundation. You can't say, I'm a professional dancer when you just learn the foundation, but you still have to go through the industry. Look, there's agencies that book performers for shows at casinos, at launches and stuff that they do, where they have their choreographers there. You see, so from what you learn, basically, you have to shape and mold and add your own character, your own flavor to the dance. That will turn you into that experienced dancer. From there, you go on to an agency, or you go on to whatever casting agency there is, then they'll book you or whatever. If there's shows and stuff this side, then if they want X amount of dancers and I have the database, I'd say, look here, this is the dancers that I have on my database. What do you guys need?
Okay, so it's safe not to do everything on your own.
It's safe.
Find an agency.
Not just that, have a suitable manager.
Okay, but if I can't afford to have a manager,
and then make sure that you have someone that's guiding you in the right direction. Yeah. Because
it's hard, like
yes, it's the same as working a daytime job. You have your supervisor there, you have your managers, you have the boss.
It's hard in terms of if it's me and I don't have money for a manager, and what I'm gonna do, like, it's hard to me, like. It's like I can't get through the industry.
The trick is, if you have the manager books the work, you perform, the manager gets his cut.
Okay. So, what do you have to say to someone listening? Because now we're about to wrap up the interview. And we did not even get to your Christian side, because this is a Christian radio.
Yes, I was going to say that. Obviously, there is a Christian side to it. I started off in a church.
Okay, you started dancing in a church.
Yes, in the Nazarene church in Schauderville, basically. If you guys know where that is, it's on top. It's on the corner of Ferreira and Dinsma Road.
So you started dancing at church.
The pastor at the time was Justin Olifant. And then because he has that background of knowing what goes on in the street scene and stuff, he's a very hands-on pastor, and then he allowed us to actually, his way of drawing us in was, he allowed us to come to youth and gave us a platform to dance at youth and stuff, and from there onwards doing performances and stuff. I still get requests so now and then from people at church wanting me to come do a performance or something like that, because just because it's hip-hop or street dance doesn't mean that it can't be a form of using it as a performance in church, basically, to worship.
Okay, and I am now thinking that I have a sister who, with her daughter, she monitors what her daughter watches and what the things that she's exposed to. So I was going to ask you, since you work with all ages, and we know hip hop, like you said, that people place gangsterism with hip hop, and there are type of dances that are not like.
Obviously, you can't teach explicit dances and stuff to minors, And then the music also, you censored music. You can't, because obviously you're not going to stop the kids from listening to the music that's circulating. So what do? You get them the censored versions of the song, or you monitor, like she's monitoring basically.
Okay, so it's clean dancing as well.
That's the one thing that I believe, that you have to make sure that you guide them in the right direction and you teach them properly, because they're going to follow what they see. If you don't apply it, they won't apply it.
Okay, thank you so much for making time to come and see us.
It's a
and
pleasure.
to share your 20 years experience with us. Thank you so much.
Thanks for having me, guys.
Okay, thank you so much, but you still owe me though. You did not leave a message to the kids.
Okay, my message would be, pursue your dreams and make sure that whatever you pursue, you give 1,000, I won't say 100%, 1,000%, because anything is possible and you can reach any goal that you set for yourself if you allow yourself to pursue that dream.
And where can we find you on social media?
Social media, Instagram, B-Boy Rhythm 1, on Facebook, Cheslyn Meyer, and then online, YouTube, look for B-Boy Rhythm.
Okay, so you also on YouTube.
You'll find battles and stuff there, and then the project pages on Facebook is Battle Beasts or Battle Beasts Official, and on Instagram, Battle Beasts Official.
Okay, so we're allowed to DM you if we're interested in dancing.
Not a problem.
Okay, thank you so much, Cheslyn, for your time.
It's been a pleasure. Thank you, guys.
And that was Cheslyn, also known as Rhythm. Your Meyer, I almost said Van der Meyer.